Children, welcome to our online class. So, in our previous class, we have discussed about the cell referencing and different types of cell. What is Microsoft Access? What are formulas? And what are the different elements which are used in the formulas? And also, we have learned to do the simple as well as complex formula. Use of complex and simple formula. So today we will be doing the cell range. So what do we mean by cell range? So it's there in page number 21. So you just refer to the book, page 21. A range of a rectangular box of one or more cells in a spreadsheet is called a cell range. So a range is a rectangular block of cells. So as you know that a spreadsheet is made up of rows and columns. Now this block, this individual cells, if I take the blocks, if I take this block, suppose this block, this here it's involved, two cells have been has been involved. Now the two cells, if I take this rectangular block, this is called a cell range, the range of cell. So it can be denoted as, with the help of the address A1 to B1, B1, so here to here, B2, this way we can represent A1 to A1, B1 to B1. Okay, the range of cells which we are using is called the cell range. You can format, apply functions and calculate the data using the cell range. So if I want to give the formatting, so you know what do you mean by formatting, changing the color, changing the size, making smaller, making bigger, isn't it? So that size, changing the size and editing and formatting can be done in the range of cells. You can apply or you can format, apply functions and calculate the data using the cell ranges. You can enter a cell range by specifying the starting cell address and ending cell address. Now suppose this one, if I write this 1 A B C 1 2 3 4. Now if I have to specify these cells, if I have to select these two cells, or if I have to select these four cells, then I have to take this address. This one is A1 2, this one is 2. Instead of 2 we put this column. So here B2. So this is the cell range which is specifying this particular area. Okay, so starting address of the cell and ending part needs to be done. A colon separates the cell address of the first cell and the last cell in the given range. You can easily select several rows and columns, a block of cells, an entire rows or columns, or entire column of the cell by defining a range. So you can either take all this block, or you can take this block. Okay, so different blocks can be taken. Different blocks can be taken as a range of the cell. Selecting and naming the range. So we can select and name the range. So selecting can also be done, and we can give the name to this particular block also. Now how can we do this? As shown in figure 10, when you select a range of cells, the name of a range appears as the name of the first cell range followed by colon and followed by the number. So this name will come. Suppose if I am selecting this part, that A1 to B2 means this particular block I am showing. Now A1 to D6 includes all the cells in the highlighted area as per figure 10 showing. It includes all the cells which are there, and each row has 6 cells and each column has 4 cells. So Excel provides the features that can be used as the name, used to name the range. So we can name this particular block. It has got the features. Excel provides the features. You can assign the name and the cell range instead of referencing to the set of cell address. So we can give the name and we can use that for referencing. So creating a name for the cell or a range of cell. To assign a name to the range of cells, you have to enter a data in a sheet. Suppose the data is entered, then you have to select the cell. It is not mandatory to have an adjacent cell. You can select the non-adjacent cells by pressing the control key. And in the name box, click and enter the new name. Type the name of the range of the cell in the box and press the enter key. So you can just write the name, type the name, and you can press the enter key, it will come. So you can look at figure 11b. 11b you can do. Alternately, you can define the name of the range by selecting the range of the cell to name it on the formula tab in the defined name group and click the define name, or the new name dialog box appears. The name box enters the required name for the range. So you can either do from the formula tab or you can do it from the name box. So there are two ways of naming the range in the spreadsheet. Okay, so this is the thing. Now let us come to the referencing. What is referencing? A cell or a range of cells which can be used in a formula is called cell referencing. A cell or a range of cells which can be used in a formula is known as cell referencing. It allows you to use the data from the different parts of the worksheet. So when you when you do the referencing, you can use the data from the different parts of the worksheet. You can also refers to as the cell from different worksheet of the same workbook. So workbook and worksheet, workbook is a pages, whereas worksheet is a whole book. Okay, so you can also refers to the cell from the different worksheet of the same workbook. There exist three types of cell reference in MS Excel, that is absolute cell reference, relative cell reference, and mixed cell reference. There are three types of referencing. That means we can refer to the data from the same worksheet or from the different worksheet in a same workbook. So that is called the referencing. Now what is absolute referencing? How can we make the reference absolute? Absolute cell reference means that the cell reference stays the same when formula is copied to another cell. You can add the dollar symbol before the row name and column later. So if you do not want to change the cell address, and if you want to keep that particular rows or a column fixed, you can use the cell referencing or absolute referencing. So absolute referencing can be done by putting the dollar symbol. So when you put the dollar symbol in front of the columns and in front of the row, then that particular cell will be the fixed. So copying the formulas using the absolute cell reference. So the example is given over here, figure 12. Now one worksheet is there, the calculation is done, and it is shown how the absolute referencing is used. So you need to remember that we can make the referencing absolute by putting the dollar sign. There are another type of referencing is the relative referencing. Relative referencing means cells are referred by the column letters and the row numbers that are located in. When you copy the formula in a cell and paste it in the another cell, Excel copies only the formulas and changes the cell reference to the new location automatically. So by default, the cell, when you copy the formula, it is a relative cell reference. So this is called the relative. When it changes, it automatically changes the cell address, it is the cell reference. By default, when you copy the formula from one cell to another, it gets pasted as relative cell reference. A cell reference with no dollar symbol changes to relative positions of rows and columns in the spreadsheet. So when the reference changes automatically, and that is called the relative cell reference. Now the third type is the mixed reference. There are many calculations where one can reference have to be constant, but other can be changed. So if you sometimes we have to make the column fixed and row unfixed. So that type of reference, this type of reference is called mixed cell reference. So it is a type of cell reference that combines both the relative cell reference and absolute cell reference. So it is of two types, that is absolute columns and relative row reference. So give an example here. By putting the dollar sign, column is fixed and row is remain unfixed. So in this type, the column has a dollar symbol, which means the column letter remains constant. However, the relative row reference changes depending on the rows to which the formula is copied, since it does not have the symbol. So relative column and absolute row reference, there the column is not fixed whereas row is fixed. So it is called relative column and absolute row reference. In this type, the row has a dollar symbol, which means the row letter remains constant. However, the relative column reference changes depending on the column to which the formula is copied, since it does not have the dollar symbol. So these are the different types of cell range, and the cell range which are used for different types of referencing, that is absolute cell referencing, relative cell referencing, and mixed cell referencing. So I will be going through this absolute, relative and mixed referencing in my next class in the further details using an example. For today we will be concluding here. Okay, thank you.